The porch light cast a weak glow across Emily's tear-streaked face as she stood trembling at Ryan's doorstep, still wearing her designer business suit, mascara running down her cheeks. Behind her, the rain intensified, matching the storm in her heart. "I can't fake love anymore," she choked out, the diamond engagement ring no longer on her finger. Ryan stared at his boss in disbelief, his 5-year-old daughter peering curiously from behind his legs. Just 12 hours earlier, Emily had been the composed, untouchable CEO preparing for her society wedding. Now she stood broken before him, the single dad who had silently loved her from afar, never daring to cross the line between employee and employer. What happened in those 12 hours would change 3 lives forever. If you enjoy emotional stories about finding true love in unexpected places, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heart-touching content that reminds us all why authentic connections matter more than appearances. Now, let's dive into this incredible journey. Emily Bennett had everything. At 35, she was the youngest CEO of Horizon Technologies, respected throughout the industry for turning the struggling tech company into a powerhouse within just 3 years. Her engagement to Matthew Caldwell, heir to one of Boston's oldest banking families, had been splashed across business magazines as the merger of not just hearts but empires. The wedding, planned for 6 months down to the minute detail, would be the social event of the year. But nobody saw Emily's smile falter when the cameras turned away. Nobody knew how she mechanically went through bridal appointments, nodding at dresses that made her feel like a stranger in her own skin. Nobody understood how empty she felt each night in her luxury penthouse, staring at the ceiling and wondering why success tasted so hollow. Nobody except Ryan Donovan, her head of product development. The quiet, dedicated single father who had caught her wiping away tears in her office one evening when she thought everyone had gone home. "Are you okay, Ms. Bennett?" he had asked, standing awkwardly at her door, a stack of reports in his hands. She had quickly composed herself. Of course. Just wedding stress. The lie had come easily. But Ryan had nodded in a way that told her he saw through it. "My daughter says sometimes you need to cry to make room for happy again." He'd smiled sheepishly. "Sorry, that was unprofessional." That small moment of genuine human connection had been the first crack in Emily's carefully constructed facade. Ryan had been with the company since before Emily's promotion to CEO. His wife had died of cancer when their daughter Lily was just 2, leaving him to balance grief, single parenthood, and a demanding career. Emily had noticed how he never missed a deadline despite leaving precisely at 5 to pick up Lily from daycare. How he brought innovation to every project despite working within the constraints of his difficult personal situation. How his team would walk through fire for him because he treated everyone with the same quiet respect. In the months leading up to her wedding, Emily found herself creating reasons to collaborate with Ryan's department. In project meetings, while others spoke, she found herself watching his hands sketch concepts, the way he listened intently to everyone's input, the gentle authority with which he led his team. It was a leadership style opposite to her own more commanding approach, and she found herself drawn to it, and to him. The morning of her wedding cancellation began like any other. Emily awoke in her penthouse to the pre-dawn glow of the Boston skyline, her wedding dress hanging on the closet door like a ghost. Matthew had spent the night at his own place, following tradition. He'd texted her a formal, "looking forward to today" message with a champagne emoji. She had responded with equal formality. Sitting on the edge of her bed, Emily felt the panic rise. In less than 8 hours, she would be walking down the aisle toward a man she respected but didn't love. Toward a life that looked perfect on paper but felt like a prison sentence. Her hands trembled as she reached for the antique necklace her grandmother had left her, something old. "Be brave enough to choose love, Emmy," her grandmother had always told her. Not the idea of love. Not the convenience of love. Real, inconvenient, messy love. Emily's fingers closed around the necklace, and suddenly she couldn't breathe. She wasn't choosing love. She was choosing merger, alliance, expectation. She was choosing the path that would make her board members nod in approval, that would add another achievement to her perfect resume. The realization crashed over her with such force that she sank to the floor. She couldn't do it. She couldn't stand before family and friends and vow forever to a man she only loved as a friend. Not when her heart raced every time Ryan's name appeared on her calendar. Not when she had caught herself wondering what Lily was like, whether she had her father's thoughtful brown eyes. With shaking hands, Emily had called Matthew. "We need to talk. Now." Her voice had been barely recognizable to her own ears. An hour later, sitting in the silent opulence of Matthew's downtown apartment, Emily had ended their engagement. To her surprise, after the initial shock, Matthew's shoulders had relaxed visibly. "I've felt it too," he admitted quietly. "We make sense on paper, Emily. But something's been missing." "Why didn't you say anything?" she had asked, tears of relief streaming down her face. "Same reason you didn't, I suppose. Expectations. Our families. The press." He had taken her hand gently. "I care about you too much to trap you in something neither of us truly wants." By noon, calls had been made. The wedding was off. Emily had faced her mother's shock, her father's disappointment, her friend's concern. She had instructed her assistant to issue a press statement citing mutual decision and continued friendship as the reason. She had done everything a CEO should do to manage a crisis. Then she had climbed into her car with no destination in mind, driving aimlessly through the rain-soaked streets until she found herself in a modest suburban neighborhood, stopping outside a small blue craftsman house with a well-tended garden and a child's bicycle leaning against the porch. Ryan's house. She knew the address from his personnel file, though she'd never had reason to visit. Until now. For 20 minutes, she sat in her car, arguing with herself. This was inappropriate. Unprofessional. Possibly career-ending. What did she even plan to say? "I canceled my wedding and I think it might be because of you." Ridiculous. But when Ryan's front door opened and she saw him emerge onto the porch, looking for the source of the unfamiliar car idling outside his home, Emily found herself stepping out into the rain. Her heart pounded violently as she walked up the path to his house, makeup running, designer suit becoming soaked. "Ms. Bennett?" Ryan's shock was evident. "Emily? Is everything okay? Aren't you supposed to be?" "I canceled it," she blurted out. "The wedding. I canceled everything." Ryan's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "Come inside. You're soaking wet." He stepped aside, gesturing her in. And that was when she had broken down completely, the words tumbling out between sobs, "I can't fake love anymore." Now, standing in Ryan's modest living room, Emily struggled to regain her composure. The space was warm and lived in, nothing like her minimalist penthouse. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. A half-completed puzzle dominated the coffee table. The scent of recently cooked pasta lingered in the air. "Daddy, why is your boss crying?" Lily's small voice came from the hallway. She stood watching with curious eyes, clutching a well-loved stuffed rabbit. Ryan knelt down beside his daughter. "Ms. Bennett is having a hard day, sweetheart. Remember how we talked about being kind when people are sad?" Lily nodded solemnly before approaching Emily. "When I'm sad, Daddy makes hot chocolate with extra marshmallows." She looked up at Emily with earnest eyes. "Do you want hot chocolate with extra marshmallows?" The simple kindness broke through Emily's remaining composure. She sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry," she managed. "I shouldn't have come here. This is completely inappropriate." Ryan sent Lily to her room to pick out a book for bedtime before sitting carefully on the other end of the couch. "I think we're a bit beyond workplace formalities at this point," he said gently. "What happened, Emily?" The sound of her first name in his voice sent a tremor through her. She took a deep breath and looked up. I was going to marry a man I don't love. I've been living a life that looks perfect but feels empty. And I think I came here because you're the only person who might understand that." Ryan was silent for a long moment. "Why would I understand that specifically?" Emily wiped at her tears. "Because you're authentic. In everything you do. With your team. With your daughter. You never pretend to be something you're not. And She hesitated. "I've been pretending for so long I almost forgot who I really am." Outside, thunder rumbled as the storm intensified. Ryan stood and walked to the kitchen, returning with a glass of water. "Here," he said, handing it to her. Small sips. As Emily drank, Ryan sat down again, closer this time. "For what it's worth, I think you're braver than you realize. Calling off a wedding when everything's in motion, that takes courage." "Or cowardice," Emily said bitterly. "I waited until the last possible moment. You made the decision before you took vows you couldn't keep. That's what matters." Ryan's voice was firm. "But Emily, why come here? Of all places?" The question hung in the air between them. Emily could feel her career, her carefully constructed life, balancing on the edge of her answer. She could make up something plausible. Say she just needed a friend. Claim she'd been driving aimlessly and ended up here by chance. Instead, she chose truth. "Because when I imagined being truly happy, you were there." The words came out in a whisper. "You and Lily. And I know that's crazy. I'm your boss. We've never even had a personal conversation outside of work. But there's something about you that makes me feel." She searched for the word, real. Ryan's expression was unreadable. "Emily, you've had an incredibly emotional day. You're vulnerable right now." "I don't think." "I know what you're going to say," she interrupted. "That I'm confused. That I'm transferring emotions. That this is inappropriate. And you'd be right about all of it." She stood up, embarrassment flooding her. "I should go. I'm so sorry for putting you in this position." As she moved toward the door, Ryan's hand caught hers. "Wait." His touch was warm, steady. "I wasn't going to say any of that." Emily turned back, hardly daring to breathe. "I was going to say that whatever you're feeling, whatever brought you here tonight, it deserves more than a conversation had in shock and confusion." His eyes held hers. "You deserve the space to figure out what you really want, without jumping from one life-changing decision to another." The wisdom in his words penetrated Emily's emotional haze. He was right. She had ended an engagement hours ago. Whatever she felt for Ryan, and she was increasingly certain it was significant, needed time and clarity. "I don't know what happens next," she admitted. "I've never deviated from my 5-year plan before." A small smile tugged at Ryan's lips. "That's the thing about life. The most important moments rarely fit into our plans." "Daddy?" Lily's voice called from her bedroom. "Is it story time yet?" Ryan checked his watch. "It's past her bedtime," he explained. "I should go," Emily said quickly. "Please don't let me interrupt your routine." Ryan hesitated. "Will you be okay?" Emily nodded, feeling steadier than she had all day. "I'll call a car. Go be with your daughter." "Wait here?" There was something in his voice, a vulnerability that matched her own. Emily nodded again, and Ryan disappeared down the hall. She could hear the murmur of his voice as he read to Lily, the occasional high-pitched question from his daughter, his patient answers. The domesticity of it brought fresh tears to her eyes, not of sadness but of longing for something she hadn't even known she wanted. 20 minutes later, Ryan returned to find Emily standing by his bookshelf, examining the family photos displayed there. "She's beautiful," Emily said softly, pointing to a picture of Lily as a toddler, sitting on the shoulders of a woman with the same curly hair, Ryan's late wife. She was, Ryan agreed, coming to stand beside her. Catherine. She would have loved to see the girl Lily is becoming. How do you do it? Emily asked. Balance everything? Keep going after such loss? Ryan considered the question carefully. One day at a time. Some days are harder than others. But Lily needs stability, so I create routines, find joy where we can, build a life that honors Catherine's memory but doesn't live in it. He looked at Emily. What about you? What happens tomorrow? Emily hadn't thought beyond this moment. Damage control, I suppose. Press. Family. Returning gifts. She sighed. The CEO in me is already cataloging the tasks. And what about the woman behind the CEO? What does she need? The question struck Emily like a physical blow. When was the last time anyone had asked what she needed, not what the company needed, not what her position required, but what Emily herself needed? Time, she finally said. Space to remember who I am when I'm not performing for others. She turned to face him fully. And maybe, a friend who sees me, not just my title. Ryan's smile was warm. I think that can be arranged. He hesitated before adding, though I should probably mention that my friendship comes with occasional Disney movie marathons and macaroni art. Emily laughed, a genuine laugh that surprised them both. I could develop a taste for both. The rain had stopped. Through the window, Emily could see stars beginning to appear between the clouds. The crisis of the day felt distant now, replaced by a strange sense of possibility. I should go, she said reluctantly. Ryan nodded. It's been a long day for you. At the door, Emily turned back. Thank you. For not turning me away. For being kind. Emily, Ryan said her name softly, whatever happens next, I'm glad you chose authenticity today. That took extraordinary courage. She smiled, feeling lighter than she had in years. It's strange. I spent so much time climbing the corporate ladder, I forgot to ask if it was leaning against the right wall. It's never too late to move the ladder, Ryan replied. As Emily walked to her waiting car, she felt something unfamiliar, a sense of open space before her, of unwritten possibility. For the first time in her adult life, she had no 5-year plan, no carefully plotted course. Just the next day, and the one after that, and the chance to discover what authentic happiness might look like. She had no idea that within 6 months, she would be sitting cross-legged on Ryan's living room floor, helping Lily build a science project while Ryan cooked dinner, all three of them laughing at something only they understood. She couldn't have predicted how her board would react to her dating an employee, with surprising support, once the initial shock wore off, or how Lily would slowly, cautiously open her heart to the possibility of a new mother figure. She couldn't have known that Ryan would challenge her workaholic tendencies while supporting her ambitions, or how she would help him believe in love again after loss. She couldn't have foreseen the weekend trips to the beach, the late-night conversations about everything and nothing, the way her penthouse would gradually fill with children's drawings and family photos. All Emily knew, driving away from Ryan's house that night, was that she had finally chosen truth over appearance. And somehow, that felt like the first real success of her life. 2 years later, Emily stood in Ryan's backyard, now their backyard, watching as Lily raced around with her friends from school. The anniversary party had been Lily's idea. To celebrate the night you came to our door, she had explained with the matter-of-fact wisdom of a 7-year-old. Ryan appeared beside Emily, slipping his arm around her waist. "Penny for your thoughts," he murmured. Emily leaned into him, watching as Lily showed her friends how to make proper daisy chains. "I was just thinking about courage," she said. "How the scariest decisions sometimes lead to the best outcomes. Like showing up sobbing at your employee's door?" Ryan teased gently. "Exactly like that." Emily turned in his arms. I've been thinking about what my grandmother used to tell me. About choosing real, messy, inconvenient love. And? Ryan's eyes were warm on hers. And I'm so glad I finally listened. She kissed him softly before adding with a smile, though I'm not sure she meant quite this level of professional complication. Ryan laughed. The HR department has mostly recovered from the shock. In truth, their relationship had required careful navigation of company policies. Emily had immediately disclosed their relationship to the board. Ryan had transferred to a different reporting structure. There had been whispers and raised eyebrows, but over time, seeing them together had silenced most critics. Their commitment to both personal and professional integrity had earned respect, even from initial skeptics. "Mom! Dad! Come see our fairy house," Lily called from across the yard. The way she called Emily Mom still brought tears to Emily's eyes sometimes, a title earned through bedtime stories, homework help, and countless small moments of showing up. As they walked hand in hand toward the elaborate construction of sticks and flowers, Emily thought about the woman she had been 2 years ago. The hollow achievement, the perfect appearance, the imminent marriage based on compatibility rather than love. No regrets? Ryan asked quietly, reading her thoughts as he often did. Emily squeezed his hand. Not a single one. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Lily was asleep, Emily and Ryan sat on their back porch, sharing a bottle of wine. "I got a call from Matthew today," Emily said. "He wanted to wish us happy anniversary." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "That's remarkably evolved of your ex-fiancé." Emily smiled. "He's getting married next month. To his childhood best friend. Apparently after our wedding fell apart, he reconnected with her and realized what he'd been missing." She took a sip of wine. "He thanked me. Said if I hadn't been brave enough to walk away, neither of us would have found what we were really looking for." "He's right," Ryan said, reaching for her hand. "Your courage that day changed more lives than just your own." Emily looked out at the yard where, just hours before, friends and family had gathered to celebrate not a perfectly orchestrated society wedding, but the messy, beautiful reality of chosen love. "I think that's how it works," she said softly. "When one person chooses authenticity, it creates space for others to do the same." Ryan nodded thoughtfully. "Lily asked me something interesting today. She wanted to know if you were sad that you're not the boss at work anymore." 6 months earlier, Emily had made the difficult decision to step down as CEO, accepting a position as Chief Innovation Officer instead. The hours were more reasonable, the stress considerably less, and the creative work more fulfilling than she had anticipated. "What did you tell her?" Emily asked. "I told her to ask you herself," Ryan replied. "But I'm curious too." Emily considered the question carefully. "I miss certain aspects of it," she admitted. "The authority. The respect. Sometimes even the adrenaline of crisis management." She looked at Ryan. "But I don't miss the person I had to be to sustain it. Always on, always perfect, always 3 steps ahead of everyone else." "You're still 3 steps ahead of everyone else," Ryan pointed out with a smile. "Maybe," Emily conceded. "But now I can wait for the people I love to catch up." She set down her wine glass and moved closer to him. The corner office was impressive, but it was lonely. "This," she gestured between them, toward Lily's bedroom window, encompassing their home, "this is success." As the stars appeared above them, Emily thought about the rain-soaked night she had stood trembling on Ryan's doorstep, terrified and exhilarated by her own honesty. She had arrived as a woman in crisis, but she had left as a woman beginning to discover her authentic self. "I can't fake love anymore," she had sobbed that night. Now, nestled in the real thing, complicated, challenging, joyful, true, she was profoundly grateful for the courage of that moment. For the storm that had washed away her pretenses and led her home. In the quiet darkness, with the man she loved beside her and the daughter of her heart sleeping peacefully inside, Emily Bennett finally understood what her grandmother had tried to tell her all those years ago. Real love wasn't perfect. It wasn't always convenient or easy or impressive to outsiders. But it was worth every difficult step of the journey. Worth the cancelled wedding and the career adjustments and the raised eyebrows. Worth the risk of showing up, tear-streaked and vulnerable, at the door of possibility. Because in the end, the most beautiful life isn't the one that looks perfect from the outside. It's the one that feels like truth from within. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us all of the power of authentic love. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit when we're on the wrong path, and the most rewarding journey begins with that single, courageous step toward truth. Thank you for watching.